Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. Well, sorry for my seeming absence for a while here. I've mentioned my allergies a few times on this channel, and for the last 3 weeks, my allergies have been so bad that I can barely hear myself, hence the hearing amplifiers that you see. It's very strange. I can hear outside sounds better than I can hear my own voice. Hopefully, not sounding strange uh, at this time. All right, so I've been meaning to do this video for a while. There's been a lot of discussion about drone warfare and making it seem like one side or another in Ukraine, either the Ukrainians or the Russians, are somehow failing in electronic warfare because they're. It seems like they are unable to defend against the other side's drones. Now, at the beginning of the Ukraine conflict, neither side neither side was really using that many drones. Ukraine was using some of the Turkish Bayraktar drones, but those were those were defeated, either shot down or controlled electronically by electronic warfare by Russia. Uh, and Russia wasn't really using any drones at the beginning of this. It has been mostly since early 2023 that drone warfare really took off. Now, drone warfare is not a new thing, and this was primarily, drones have been around since at least the 1990s, maybe the 1980s. And the first place that they were used in any large number was by the United States in Iraq and Afghanistan. And those were what we have heard of as the Reaper drones. When you're talking about drones, you're talking about a wide assortment of different types of drones. They come in a variety of configurations and sizes. Let me go to that to show you this. All right, so this is what I was just mentioning. This is an American Reaper drone. And you can see just how large this is. And this carries a considerable payload that, well, you know, very large explosive payload. And this one does a lot of damage. Now, since the beginning of this year, Russia has developed and deployed many more drones than they were using previously. They have been using drones for long range, which are somewhat similar to this. They have drones that are similar to this. But mostly, they are using drones that are based on the Iranian design, but have been modified and upgraded. But the base, they look a lot the same, but they are produced in Russia for that purpose. And this is about the size of those. All right, so those are, as you can see, much smaller, much smaller. And yet these still can carry a considerable explosive payload. And these are suicide drones, kamikaze drones. Then you keep going down, and this is the completely German design kamikaze drone, a Lancet drone. And these are being used fairly widely. And then when you keep on going down, you got the quadcopter drones, which come in a variety of sizes. Some are, quite large, but the majority of the ones being used are probably about this size. They're, let's see. Okay, is that going to move? Okay. So this gives you more of an idea of the scale of those drones. And then there are some that are similar to this. All right. So there are a lot of different configurations, a lot of different designs, a lot of different capacities, anywhere from a 1 kilogram payload, which is about the size, about a hand grenade, and all the way up to much larger payloads. Now, Russia has devised different drones that have a range of, dozens of kilometers, and so these are, and some drones have a range of up to 400 kilometers at this point, and will carry 50 kilograms or more of explosives. So they're the capacity, depending on what they are being used for. Most of the ones being used on the front line are Lancet drones and smaller. So I already showed you the Lancet drones, and those Lancet drones are showing a lot of effectiveness. All right, so let's get into the problems with this. All right, so the first issue with drones is communications. Now, some drones require communications because they are controlled at the other end by a human being that targets a certain location, a certain target, and that's how they strike. However, some drones do not have any communications unless it's to send video back for confirmation, and they are programmed to strike certain map coordinates. The map coordinates are accurate to within 5 meters. So if they have a large explosive payload, then if they strike within 5 meters, they have struck the target that they intended to strike. Now, for the ones that do not have, do not send video back, quite often there is a separate surveillance drone that sends video back for confirmation. As now, Russia has also developed drones that have artificial intelligence programmed in. May not even be artificial intelligence, but it is. They identify a target by the shape. These are mostly being used against airfields. So they fly over Ukrainian territory, find airfields that have jets, and they've been using these very frequently lately. So they autonomously identify a target and strike that target. I would say that there is some room for error, but considering how limited the they are programmed to strike specific targets, then they're showing a lot of accuracy because they have a very specific silhouette that they are looking for. Now, as far as drones that are controlled, there are a lot of problems with this. First of all, if you watch any of these channels that show any of these videos from each side, Russia doesn't really release that much video of what they're doing. They consider that a problem with their tactics, revealing locations and what they're doing. They release a lot less video than Ukraine does. Ukraine loves to have everything on video. Now, one problem with this is that if Ukraine launches 200 drones in one day, and they release 5 videos of successful strikes. Well, what happened to the other 195? That's just very obvious that the other ones were intercepted in some way. So there's one issue there. Communications are extremely important for these kind of drones, and they're extremely limited in their range, from going from 5 to 15 kilometers for most of the smaller drones. They don't have almost every time you see these videos, it shows low battery. They don't have a long range because the batteries, the more you add more batteries onto this, to increase the range, the heavier it becomes, and you're getting a diminishing return on adding more batteries for this. So this is going into the quadcopter, and 4, 6 rotors. Obviously, 6 rotors is going to carry a higher payload, but they're also more expensive to produce, and so for the most part what you're seeing is quadcopters, 4 rotors. These can be interfered with by distance, by electronic warfare measures, which both sides are using, but there are other problems with the electronic warfare. This is a constantly developing field that these drones operate on certain radio frequencies. Digital frequencies, unless it's satellite, are not that effective, because if you knock out cell phone towers and so forth, communications, military communication towers, then you wiped out the ability to use digital communications. So mostly these use radio waves within certain bandwidths. Now they have multiple bandwidths that they operate on, and each one has got a certain kind of encryption key so that 2 drones can be on the same bandwidth, but they use different encryption identification, so that when you're sending signals back and forth, they don't overlap. If you're controlling one drone, you don't interfere with the other drone. But if you block that bandwidth, then you block the drone. Hence, they have developed multiple bandwidths that they can alternate between, so if your opponent blocks one bandwidth, you can switch over to another bandwidth, and this switching is automatic. If if the drone is not receiving a signal, it tries another bandwidth, and so forth and so on, like radio stations. But the problem, another problem, is that if you try and block these bandwidths, you can block the bandwidth for your own drones. So you can't just blanket block all radio communications. Then you're impacting the communications of your own units, your own soldiers, your own. These bandwidths can overlap between communications and drones. So, you've got hundreds of drones in the air from each side at any given time. And each side is trying to use electronic warfare against the other ones. So there's a constant blocking, a constant alteration of the communications, and this is constantly developing and expanding on a daily basis. All right, so some people have said, well, why don't they just fire shotguns up in the air to take these out? Look, these drones move very rapidly. They're not large targets. A shotgun does not have a long range. So your chances of hitting one enough to disable it, you would need dozens of shotguns, and you would be, causing the soldiers on the ground to be constantly looking up and not looking where they're going or what threats are facing them. So this is, how many shotguns are you supposed to just be, firing shotguns, indiscriminately, hundreds of shotguns. Oh, and by the way, every time if a drone has not spotted you and you're firing off shotguns up in the air, you're announcing your position. So, oh, here I am, shoot at me. Right. This just doesn't work. This is a foolish idea. It does not work. I have heard a lot of talk about putting cages over things, but those that also causes its own problems. Over trenches, sure, but over moving targets, armored vehicles, you're causing other problems there. Some have had such things put on them, but they've shown limited success. You can put a cage over the top, but if it's aiming for the bottom of the turret, the drone doesn't just come down, it can strike from the side. So if it's aiming at the bottom of the turret or aiming for the tracks to disable the vehicle, then again, the cage has done no good. How much of a cage do you want to build around this thing? And just driving if you want to cage the entire vehicle, then what kind of problems are you going to have with maneuvering that vehicle through brush, and trees, which will tear up the cages, and how much time are you going to spend repairing the cage, etc. So This is a complex and ever evolving uh, technology. Again, the Ukrainians were using a have been using a huge amount of drones, and drones have largely taken the place of artillery at this point. Not completely, but kind of getting there. And Russia this year started increasing within the last few months. They went from, less than 200 drone strikes in 1 month to over 500 to over 1,000 drone strikes in a single month. So both sides are increasingly using drone warfare so this is always developing. It's not there is no easy answer. The people criticizing one side or the other and saying, oh, well, you need to develop more electronic warfare. Both sides are working on electronic warfare. Ukraine has got the help of the CIA to keep on developing means of countering electronic warfare with drones. And the Russians are developing their own methods. And both sides have some success. So when you see these drones and you hear about drone strikes, just keep in mind that of the hundreds of drones in the air in a single day, if you see a successful drone strike, well, chances are there were dozens of drone strikes that failed on both sides. So this is always developing, and I think the Russian method of either using kamikaze drones that are targeted, pre-targeted to hit a certain map coordinate, or using identification to strike a certain silhouette. That seems to be the most effective, and what they are developing increasingly. I'm sure that the Ukrainians are using somewhat similar, but on a smaller scale. They are mostly using drones on the front line, and yes, they have tried using drones to attack mainland Russia, but most of those have been taken down by conventional or electronic warfare means. So if you launch hundreds of drones at one time, something is going to get through. So it's not a failure on either side. Somehow something is going to hit something. All right. So I could hope this kind of clears up just how complex drone warfare really is, and how it is constantly developing and will continue to develop over time. All right, share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can afford it, please donate whatever you can to help expand this channel and my presidential campaign, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a good day.